After examining our numerous archaeological projects on the other side of the world, let's take a moment to shift our focus toward the archaeologist's great obligation, the publication of archaeological excavations and materials. This is, of course, a crucial component of excavations, and again, a great obligation to archaeologists around the world. To talk to us more about this today, we are going back to Doctors Monique Vincent and Doug Clark.
Thank you, Don. It may be that when we see a title, our publications, we kind of think, well, that's the end of my level of interest. But we'd like to suggest, Monique and I would like to suggest that this is really one of the most important parts of what we do. It's important to go and excavate, and you've seen the results of our work in Jordan. But it's also important that part of, at least, of our creed as archaeologists is to publish before we die. And I say that, and it sounds a bit humorous, but there are scores of archaeological projects that have not been published. And it's way past the time of the survival of the people who excavated. So we take it very seriously. I think in our very beginnings, I'm thinking back to the Madaba Plains Project with Dr. Siegfried Horn at Tel Hispan. He committed all of us to publishing soon. He also, in the people he trained, people like Larry Herr, who is the primary person with primary publishing responsibilities for the Umayri excavations. This is something we are insistent on, and we must keep to a schedule and complete our work and to share our work, and in the process, help preserve ancient cultural heritage. Monique, are you there?
I'm here.
Excellent, excellent. So Monique, we thought about beginning by saying what archaeologists do. Some of them like to do some of these things more than others, but then ultimately we want to turn to what kinds of publications there are. So if we think about what we do in the field, we recover finds, then we analyze what we've recovered, then we interpret what we've analyzed. Okay, that's my simplified way of putting it. But there are a couple more steps that have actually become part of the definitions of archaeology in the last couple of decades. One is to preserve, and that's what we're talking about throughout this entire series, this entire program, but then to publish, to present. Why, Monique, is it important to think about publication? Why is it important to go past what we do in the field?
I mean, this is the main way that the work that we've been doing is communicated with other specialists, making research available for some of that comparative research that you kept mentioning earlier in the Umayri presentation. So to be able to take the results of what you may be doing in one region and sharing it, comparing it with other regions, you need those publications. And that was a major challenge in doing my own research, was working with material that had not yet been published or hunting down work that was in publication. So being able to take the material, the details, and share that is really important for researchers and for the future of research.
Good. Now, let me suggest with this slide, different kinds of publications. I think, Monique, what you were referring to primarily had to do with scholarship, right? And academic research. If we can remember back to some of our friends, Monique, some of our shared friends, some of them have done their doctoral dissertations on projects that were finished decades ago, but ultimately they get published so that they're available for research. And then, of course, you can see the range of types of publications. I put publications in marks of parentheses so that we can actually, or quotation marks rather, so that we can see that it's not just the books, not just the journals, not just the articles, but it has to do with websites and databases. For instance, in the lower image, the lower left, That is an image of Open Dig that's online. It is currently under some renovation, but there is where all of our data goes. So that one can go to OpenDig and you can find any information about any artifact from the very beginning, not the beginning of time, but the beginning of our excavations in 1984. Everything will be here. Photos, you can browse for artifacts. So this is part of publication to make it available to the scholars that Monique mentioned that are looking for the sources, looking for the information. And then the others are professional ones too. But we also have artists that are working with us at this level. Anything else, Monique, at this level, scholarly? I'm going to turn to the popular in a minute. Anything that we're missing on this slide?
Yeah, research and publications take many different forms now, from the standard kind of excavation volumes and articles to now shifting more to put this material online, like with something like OpenDig. There's several good web-based platforms for putting up research and results and making that more widely accessible, as well as open access publications that make it easier for people to access that material.
So what happens if somebody decides they do not want to read studies in the history and archaeology of Jordan, which is a professional journal with all kinds of professional jargon? So what if that's the case? Do archaeologists have a responsibility to go beyond the professional, beyond their peers? And we think so. One can think about presentations in schools, in places of worship, through popular magazines and articles, artwork again, videos, movies, games. The lower left image is a game. And it's something that people, I've forgotten the age range here, but these are something for kids to play. Why have the staid old archaeologists among us forgot about that? Well, we never got into games. So we need to go past that and get outside of our comfort zone and think more broadly of a wider circle of influence.
Well, and you see at some of the professional meetings now, you'll see whole sessions dedicated to gaming and trying to reach that audience and being engaged with that kind of sharing of archaeological information.
And what we've done at La Sierra, at CNEA, is, well, involves a number of activities, including Archaeology Discovery Weekend, but you can't see all of the brochure on the right-hand side. It's called Archaeology Adventures. Probably since we started this in the late 2000s, we have run somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 elementary and middle school students through what we call Archaeology Adventures. Out behind, in fact, it was in Don's video, there was the place, the location for the kids' dig. There are two fairly sophisticated archaeological excavation sites there. People, students can dig in an Iron Age site, very much like the one we dig at in Umayri. And people can dig in another one, which is a Roman period one, a Roman glass factory. And students, I mean, this is a serious 4-hour commitment. And so they learn to do everything connected with it. That probably, we hope, will communicate something of the value of our past to this generation of students. That's what we hope. So our commitments, we are committed to the common good, and we would say the global good. We feel we are, it's part of our moral and ethical responsibility to contribute to the global good. We do want to preserve the past. We want to follow the appropriate principles and do something that's sustainable. That's why community archaeology is so important, because if it engages the community, then they are the owners. They always have been the owners, but they become kind of self-consciously the owners, and they're going to take better care of it. And there are typically economic benefits as well. So community archaeology is much more sustainable than our going over, making a speech and coming back. So what is this, Monique?
Well, this represents the publications so far for Tall al Umayri, which is part of the Madaba Plains Project. So you're looking at the volumes covering the 1984 to the 2004 season there, I believe, on the far right. So the first 6 of these were published by Andrews University, and in 2017, preparations had already been in place by that point, but the Center for Near Eastern Archaeology decided to take that publication in-house, starting with MPP 7. So working with Eisenbrauns, a major publisher in ancient Near Eastern studies, to take those volumes and print them. But that required us to do all of the actual layout. So that involved training, conversations, lots of great emails with the staff at Eisenbrauns, and good conversations with the editors of these volumes. So Larry Herr, Doug Clark, Larry Garrity. So conversations to talk about what we want this to look like moving forward. What kinds of traditions from nearly 30 years of publishing this series do we want to keep, and what do we need to change for a new era? So taking the opportunity to re-envision our volumes, we get feedback with each volume that we publish. And now we have, we're kind of on an annual publication rate at this point. And MPP 10, which will focus on the 2006 season, is in the works and hopefully out by this coming fall.
Monique knows all of these details because she is the publications manager, and she is the one who went through all of that training, and she is the one who lays these out. And I'm going to show all of those that you've worked on, Monique, in a minute. But before that, a couple of earlier volumes received awards, one from the American Schools of Oriental Research, which now is the American Society, is it for Overseas Research? We don't know if it's for or of. It was just voted, what? Yesterday or something like that. So anyway, and then another one from the Biblical Archaeology Society. So the books are being noticed and are part of the publications world and are recognized as such. So Monique, these are the 3 that you have been responsible for laying out and getting to press. How do you feel about these?
They represent a lot of good teamwork. So teamwork with the printers at Eisenbrauns, teamwork with the editors, teamwork with the authors that put together each of the chapters, and the original data that they represent from seasons now a bit in the past, and also good conversations with Paul Ray, who shepherded the first 6 volumes to publication. So really an excellent amount of communication and teamwork to put each of these together and publish them and share our results.
Well, we are eternally grateful to you. A quick picture here of one of those volumes, volume 8, being delivered to the library of the American Center of Research. It used to be, until about a month ago, the American Center of Oriental Research. Now it's the American Center of Research in Amman, Jordan. And then another publication, Monique didn't play a direct role in this in terms of layout, but this volume that came out after 40 years, the Madaba Plains Project, there's another one in the works now for the 50th year. And there are several statements here. We won't have time to look at all of them. However, Suzanne Richard has a nice one here that she was on our program a bit ago. For the past 40 years, there simply is no other project whose name has been so intertwined with and integral to the developing field of archaeology in Jordan as the MPP. And then this one from Her Royal Highness Princess Sumaya, who was in the conference that I showed you a picture of. Contributions of Tal Hasban expedition, which later evolved into MPP as it moved to other sites like Umayri, Jawa South, Jalul, are immense and can be justifiably regarded as a turning point in the archaeology of Jordan. We have friends in the royal family that we've developed over these decades who are extremely helpful to us and who have shared their enthusiasm as in statements like this one. And then newsletters and blogs. Those Monique works on as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Clark and Dr. Vincent. We've got a question here. Could you further explain or elaborate on what you mean when you say community archaeology?
That's a really good question. And it's a question that would probably not have dawned on any of us 10, 15 years ago. It's a new, a relatively new approach. 10 or 15 years, one could probably push it back a couple of decades, but it's a term that means involving the local community. If you might remember, okay, this is on the quiz, okay, that list of different partners that we had of stakeholders. So if you think about all of those, whether it's government, whether it's local families, whether it's a religious institution, whether it's an archaeological site, whether it's an excavator, whether it's an overseas institute, whatever there, that they are the stakeholders. And community archaeology means that this is something in which we all share, but especially focused on the local community. Our friends in the town of Madaba, they are friends for life. We are there often. Well, we were before COVID, but we are there. I'm there usually about 4 times a year. Suzanne, about the same. We meet these people on the street. They know who we are. They understand more about their own heritage. And it may be in their basement. It may be in their backyard. If they were digging around to put in a garden, they will find something. All of a sudden, they own that past. That's the part we want to communicate. And legally, anything archaeological, whether it is a movable find, that's an artifact that you would pick up and excavate and move out, or an immovable find, like a wall, a stone wall. Both of those, which means any archaeological find, belong to the people of Jordan. They belong to Jordan and to Jordanians. And part of our work is to work with them as they're discovering more about what they actually own, what is actually theirs. And when we go and we have meetings with some of these stakeholders, I am proud to say to them, we are so happy to be here just to help. Tell us what we can do. Help us to know what we can do to best serve you, your history, and your economy. Part of this has to do with the economy. You bring more people to Madaba, that improves the economy too.
Excellent. Thank you so much.